So I help small, medium-sized businesses, help them create a legacy, help them leave something behind, help them not only have legacy, but have something that their family can enjoy long after they're gone.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Nigel Harmon with Focus Systems, and today I have a very special guest. This is Charles Dents, and he is a proud owner of Xelantt. He is a growth and exit specialist focused on family-owned businesses that are really around the $3 to $10 million range in yearly revenue. And so, yeah, welcome to the show, Charles.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here, Nigel.
Absolutely. So, I would love for the audience to really just to know you a little bit more. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about, who you are and what do you do?
Yeah, so I've been working with businesses for a couple of decades now in terms of helping them grow and scale. And I've recently also expanded that because it's kind of the same thing, as well as helping business owners prepare for exit. And particularly in today's economy, there are a lot of family businesses that are at a position of transitioning either to the next generation or to a strategic buyer, financial buyer, individual buyer, whatever it may be, and they're unprepared to do so. So I help them prepare while at the same time still growing their business, scaling their business if they desire to scale. Some businesses don't, but if they desire to, help them scale and have a great exit plan in place so that when they exit, they can take advantage of their capital gain as well as have a life after their business. So so I understand that they have value, purpose after they sell their business.
Love that. Okay, great. And so, these companies that you're working with typically, what are some of the main challenges that they're facing and how do you typically help them?
Well, I think one of the number one things that I see is business owners, and it could be partners, right? But the family itself is so involved and ingrained that they are the actual hub of the business. So everything centers around the owners. And particularly that becomes important to really get clarity or really correct that particular position because if they're looking to sell, and maybe they're initially thinking about doing some type of succession planning, right? But too often today, there is no family to succeed them, right? So they're looking at an outside buyer. And when an outside buyer is looking, they're looking at the business. They're not looking at the owners. They're not buying the owners. They're buying the business. So getting the business owners out of the middle of everything and creating a business that is efficient operationally may be the number one thing.
Mhm. Awesome. I would love to hear a little bit more how you actually got into this as well, because I don't think people just stumble across becoming a profit and exit strategist. So maybe talk a little bit about your story of like how you got to where you're at.
Yeah, so I've had an entrepreneurial type of mentality since I was an early teen, and washing cars around the neighborhood, mowing yards, etc. And I was mowing. My uncle had given me a lawnmower that wasn't functioning, and I had someone help me to fix it up and get it running. And I started using that to mow yards, right, and make money. And someone told me, one of my customers told me I should go to the Chamber of Commerce and register so I could get more business. Well, my dad and that happened, and I started getting business, so just kind of randomly. But my dad, in the meantime, he was working for a company and decided to exit that company, retire from that company because people who were much younger than him, individuals much younger than him, were coming in and making more money. He worked for an HVAC company, and he had been doing it for 30, 35 years, right? And so what he did is he started his own business. He took a lot of that clientele with him, but and he had a successful business. However, his business did not create a legacy. It did not leave anything to my mom or any of the family when he passed away. He got sick, passed away, and when he passed away, he died. The business died with him, and so that kind of a backstory created a certain passion in me to help small business. And so I help small, medium-sized businesses, uh, help them create a legacy, help them leave something behind, help them not only have legacy, but have something that their family can enjoy long after they're gone, right? Whether that be the business itself or the proceeds from the business, or they remain in partial ownership of that business, no longer running it. But now, every time that business sells, if it sells again, they also reap the benefits because now they have partial ownership. So there's so many different ways to do exit strategies. So that's just an example. But that's how I got into it, and having a passion for it is because I saw my dad, and then I realized later that I grew up in a small town, and basically all of those business owners left nothing in return in terms of legacy to their family, in terms of financial benefit or anything. Right? Is everything just kind of died when they died, and so that gave me just this burning passion to help business owners not go through that same thing with their families, that their families don't go through that same thing.
Yeah,
So that's where
I love that
that's my
message.
origin story, so to speak.
Yeah, I love that story because I really think like Tony Robbins says, like make your master message, right? And there's clearly passion from your side because of what you experienced. And it's so true. You know, like I think most entrepreneurs, I speak for myself, but for me, anyways, I'm building a business so that I can bless my loved ones around me and, you know, eventually pass down to my family members. But so many people don't really know how to do that properly. And, you know, and like you said, a lot of people they don't leave that legacy back for their family, and it's a shame. So I love what you do. So I'd love for you to also speak on maybe some examples of some results or some stories that you where you've been able to help, you know, some family-owned businesses with the growth and the exit after.
Well, give you, I think, a simple but understandable type of example, right? So, and this has to do with a small manufacturing company, where the family obviously they did everything, right? I mean, they were the business, and what happened is that the I would say the elder statesman of the business, he decided that he wanted to exit. It was a time for him to start planning that. But what happened during the process is a couple of things. Obviously, they were making money and successful. They weren't efficient operationally. So we worked with them to have their leadership team basically ensure that they had standard operating procedures for everything, and so that it could operate on its own versus having specific individuals with knowledge in their head, but getting it documented. Right? So that was number one. Number two is that we also had to work on mentality. This is one of those cases there was not family to pass down to, right? So we looked at doing an ESOP, we looked at externals, but the issue is that the what I again call the elder statesmen of the family, they weren't ready to really let go, and they did not have a plan for what would happen afterwards. So we started working and helping them create that plan and actually start enacting what they would be doing after the fact. So actually bringing that into their life today so that they knew when they sold exactly what they'd be doing after. they exited the company. And emotionally, that was a very big bill and a huge hurdle because that individual was not ready to actually let go of their business. Even though they said verbally they were ready, emotionally they were very attached. So we had to work through that attachment and help them realize that they do have purpose
Mhm.
after the business.
Wow.
So, so I guess, just from simple terms, is that help them with their operations, right? So that they become more efficient, and then also help them emotionally. So those were the two main factors in that particular transition.
I think that that's so overlooked a lot of times in business, especially is the emotional factor of this, because there definitely is a lot of emotions when it comes to selling the business, and those need to be managed. And a lot of times I think that's actually the hardest part rather than the actual technical part of building the business. So
I think you're right. That is maybe the most difficult part. The efficiencies certainly have to be done, but
yeah,
the owner willing to, or family or whatever it may be, willing to really let go,
yeah,
something they built, they poured their blood, sweat, and tears into, and to really let go, that's a big ask.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how do you know when people, how do you identify when people are ready to actually to actually let go? What do you think?
Well, I think it comes through. It doesn't happen overnight, right? So when we engage, we do a pretty big onboarding deep dive,
Mm.
and through that deep dive process, we begin to understand where they are emotionally, where they are operationally, where they are financially, and so forth. Now, one of the things that we do that we think is a benefit from our experience is once we engage every 90 days, first we have certain goals in place based on that engagement, that deep dive. We jointly agree on what the goals are and what to work on first, right? And second, etc. And that can shift. But what we do is that we do a 90-day reset. And what I mean by a 90-day reset is that we look at what's working, what's not working. Has there been a focus? Has there been a lack of focus? Do we need to pivot to work on something else? What type of progress has been made in those 90 days? And the reason for the 90-day basically reset is to help them remain focused.
Mhm.
And so whether they if they never sell the business, once they get into the habit of this 90-day reset, it becomes part of how they run their business. And what it does, it creates not only an efficient business, but it puts them in a position to scale their business. Because now, in a sense, even though they're not a franchise, they're kind of operating like a franchise. Everything becomes repeatable, right? And it also opens the door for innovation. But just that whole process of that interview process, onboarding, and during the checkpoints becomes obvious if they're checked out or checked in, if you will, and if they are uh, mentally and emotionally resistant to the activities that they are working on.
That makes a ton of sense. So yeah, I definitely think we're just scratching the surface here. There's obviously a lot of depth in what you do. So for anyone that is really intrigued by with what you do, maybe what are some of the people that who are the people that should reach out to you? What should they do? How should they contact you if they are interested in connecting?
Yeah, so when we look at our, we did very intentionally. Uh, we niched down and did like a micro niche, if you will. And so we're looking at typically the profile, the avatar, are business owners that are between 45 and 60, 45 and 60 plus, right? Who are looking to uh, either grow their business, and create a sustainable growth because they're kind of stagnated, looking to scale, expand their business, and potentially looking to exit. So either one of those three or a combination of, right? And so we're in the other thing we find with them is that they are typically overwhelmed by everything that's going on in business. And that overwhelm actually causes some confusion, if you will, as to what to focus on, what's next, because they're getting pulled in different directions. So we help them get clarity so they're no longer overwhelmed. So that's a big deal. And they also have a a concern about their future. So either the future of their business because they put so much into it, or their individual futures, right? What do I do after I am no longer spending 60, 70 hours a week in my business and that goes away? What do I do with that time, right? You can only sit on the beach for so long. You can only, hike in the mountains for so long. That gets old.
Yeah.
So, what does life look like, afterwards? So that's the concern they have. And, what is my life? They've witnessed other business owners who have left their business and basically deteriorated very quickly, and frankly just don't live long after the fact. So we help them make sure that they have focus and life afterwards as well. So, but
Mhm.
those are some of the key things that we see uh, when a client engages with us.
Right. And so, what would be the best way for people to connect with you and reach out?
A couple of ways, but I I have on my website, so someone could schedule a consultation, a free consultation. My website is excellent, XELANTT.com. And so anyone can go there. Essentially, what I do is do some pre-qualification. So I ask them, they can either do a master class that's there on the site. It's free. It gives them an idea of what's involved in what we do. They can also look and see, they can take an assessment that tells them the assessment is quick, but it actually gives them a very good idea if they're ready for exit. And then also with both of those, they ultimately allow them to schedule a free consultation with me. And that way, and the reason I do it that way is that individuals who haven't, they just come across my website, come across my content, etc. It just gives them a little extra layer of understanding what we do so that they don't come into the engagement, the discussion blindly. They actually understand a little bit about what we do. And this creates a much richer conversation.
Okay, got it. So, guys, I will be dropping all the links down below. So make sure to check that out if you want to connect with Charles. But Charles, this was great. So thank you so much for your time. Any last words?
No, I think that's it. I just encourage people who are business owners who are feel as though they're struggling in some way. I love to engage with them and talk with them, and I believe we can help them.
All right, Charles, thank you so much for your time. And guys, again, check out that link. Make sure I don't miss this opportunity to connect with Charles. And I'll see you guys next time.